Hey, hey, hey. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach How y'all doing out there on this nice Sunday? It's kind of chilly here in Massachusetts, but I got on my turtleneck and boys this day. So shout out to everybody who attended the Nine Alarms Franchise Entertainment Halloween Bash that went down on Friday with Busta Rhymes, Bill Tracks, and Christopher Williams. Oh my goodness, we had us a good old time at the Russell Artist. So that you can do everything that you want to. You can hear it, put your legs down, listen. Conversations that's gonna keep you in it. Sunday night at 10 p.m. On the every need just calling. Conversations with Coach so that you can do everything. All right, y'all. Sorry about that. I apologize. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La La La. This is what happens when you're out the studio for a little bit, y'all. Y'all know it's a live show. So let's get this conversation on track here. How y'all doing? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. I'm excited to be back in the studio. All right. So it has been a really busy week for me this week. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to my family because we had a loss this week. My cousin Anthony Bendoff, we had his services, and it's never easy when you lose a loved one, but we pulled together as a family and we were able to get through that. I will tell you, it was like a combination of a Tyler Perry movie and Love Jones this week for me. I also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Jonathan Gates because I had an opportunity to attend his Black Comedy Explosion, and I enjoyed every bit of it. We had some great comedians. It was the laugh that I absolutely needed, and so much appreciate him. Hi, Sean. What's up, Sean? Thanks for the condolences. So it was absolutely necessary and needed. And I appreciate everyone who's reached out to me and my family during this time as we've navigated this loss. But for the most part, we had a lot of fun. My family came in from Georgia. They came in from New York. We had people come down from Rhode Island, and it was just really great to be able to support each other in the way that we did. So I am excited about tonight's show because it is going to be a show for us women. And as you know, season 9, we've been talking about healing. We've been talking about evolution. We've been talking about elevating. And so tonight's show is all about that. And it's in honor of International Women's Day. Because it is Women's History Month. So I have a wonderful guest that is in the studio with me tonight who is going to help me have this very, I would say, needed, timely conversation around what it is to be a woman and all the many hats that we wear and all of the things that we do. So I am excited to have her on the show. So let me tell you a little bit about Miss Jackie. One of the things I loved about her bio is she says she was done watching high achieving women white knuckle their way through success while quietly falling apart inside. She is the founder of Inspired Journey Consulting, and she helps ambitious leaders, especially women of color, in male-dominated industries. And I have to say, I can totally relate to that. Some people don't know that I started off in financial services, as a broker doing insurance, and that was very much dominated by white men. And at that time, I was about 27, 28 years old in that field, very young. And so it was interesting navigating corporate America. So I am very excited for her to share some of her tips on that. And what she wants us to do is to stop performing excellence and start actually living it, which I think is really important. Jackie is not coaching from a mountaintop. As a Latina who lives with depression, anxiety, and CPTSD, she knows what it's like and what it looks like when success on paper while running on fumes underneath. So that combination of professional expertise and lived experience is exactly why her clients actually change instead of just taking notes. Y'all hear that? So we're going to change tonight. We're not going to just take notes. She has spoken across Dubai. I don't even know how to, is this an Ibiza? Ibiza, Mexico, and the US. Now, y'all know Coach need to get some stamps on her passport. So I haven't been to any of these places, but I hope to get on the plane and go see someplace other than America because those places sound wonderful. She chairs the Global Wellness Institute's Inclusive Wellness Initiative, and she co-authored Confident You, The Raw Conversations. People describe her as the magic and the light that others want to be close to. I often tell you guys I'm both a mirror and a light, so I love that. We got a lot in common. But don't let that fool you. She's also will call you out on your stuff, but she's warm at the same time. So can we please welcome to the virtual couch, Miss Jackie Roby.
I am so excited to be here.
Hey, how are you?
I'm amazing.
You look gorgeous too.
Thank
you for bringing your light and your magic. I appreciate you being here with me tonight. So tell me, what's something that you want the audience to know about you that isn't in your bio? What's something what they would be surprised to know about you?
I would say one thing is I'm a bit introverted.
Tell me more.
I didn't used to be, but I realized that was a big part of performance. And I love having conversation, but I don't love small talk. That's really difficult. As I've gotten more and more into myself, I just prefer something one-on-one and meaningful. So when I met my husband, he joked because I would say things like my Uber's outside. So I was, the original, like they call it the Irish exit. I called it the Houdini. I'm out. I know when I want to leave. I'm done. I'm cool. You can stay, but I've had my part. I've expired. And I consider that really important.
You know, it's interesting. I've found that a lot of people have come on my show and said that they're introverts. And I wonder about that, right? Like, because you seem very social, very outgoing at the same time. So what do you think makes you be introverted? Because does that mean like you don't necessarily start conversations? People have to start it with you. I've been exploring that more. What does that look like? Especially given that the work that we do as coaches and therapists involves us having to connect.
So I think introvert, extrovert is really misunderstood. We think of introvert as not being social, extrovert as being social, but what it really has to do with is your energy. And for me, I'm refueled either by being alone or being in small, meaningful conversations versus working a party. That to me becomes really draining and a bit too much. I study human design. That's another thing.
Okay, wait a minute. Human design. Now, not human development, but human design.
Human design. And it talks a lot about how to understand what your energy is like, how you approach people or how people approach you, what brings you joy, what drains you when you're in balance, out of balance. And I'm a projector. It's 20% of the population are projectors. So it's kind of a smaller set. And we just don't have that go, go, go of everyone else. And that's okay. It's understanding that. And it's it talks about waiting for the invitation. And what that really means is, let's say we're having a conversation at a party. I've had this happen. We're having a conversation. Somebody starts a topic. I insert an idea, a comment, a question, and they are intrigued by it. And so I'm happy to continue, but then someone comes in and interrupts, as happens with parties.
Yes.
Instead of me going back and trying to bring the conversation back or continue the topic as is or force my way in, or sometimes feel uncomfortable, which honestly, I'll be real, I do. I feel uncomfortable. I don't feel cool. And instead, I just let it be. And I know that if it comes back around, it's supposed to happen. It's meant for it. It'll be better received versus me trying to force my way in and talk about something that I found interesting.
Well, I think that's a great quality because that's more about reading the room and allowing organic conversation to translate, connect, allow people to kind of feel their way in and out of a conversation. But that doesn't, I don't know, I guess that doesn't scream that you're introverted, right? Like, or you're an introvert because I always see that as somebody who's sort of falling back and doesn't really like to socialize. But what you're saying, it has a lot to do with the amount of energy you have. And I feel like a lot of people get socially drained, which is why, and they need to recharge. So it's just a way of rethinking it. And I don't think that necessarily means you don't want social activity or that you don't go out or you don't like people. And I think sometimes that's what people kind of see, especially when we're entertainers, radio personality, therapists, coaches. And then we say that and people go, really? So you don't like people? You don't really want to connect with people? So what does that mean?
Yeah,
So
no.
I'm glad you broke that down. I've never heard a human design, but that does actually translate and feels really nice to think about how we're designed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things. If you think about in the corporate world where people experience Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, in our personal life, we might be looking to astrology. Human design is one of those great combinations.
Mm-hmm.
It is based on the Hindu chakra system, Chinese I Ching, Kabbalah, Tree of Life, Eastern and Western astrology, and quantum physics. And rather than it changing as you change and grow, it stays the same, but it just shows you where you're in balance and out of balance. And so for me, I love that. I feel like it's the most steady thing that we can look to understand ourselves.
I like that you bring up balance because you think about a lot of what happens with women and a lot of clients, they're looking for balance. We talk about, work-life balance. We talk about women wanting it all, right? We want to be able to have the career. We want the love life. We want the children. This is not everybody, but a lot of women, especially given that this is all about my chapter 50 that's getting ready to come up, is hitting those different milestones and achieving these different things that I feel is projected onto women in terms of what we're supposed to do and what it means to be a woman. Mm-hmm. But tonight's theme is all about leading without losing yourself, right? And a woman's worth and our wellness. And that's what makes me think about when you talk about balance, because a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Like, what is my balance? And I'm like, well, I think what some people are looking for in terms of balance is not realistic. Like, you're going to need more capacity. If you want to have kids, a husband, and a full-time job, like, you are juggling a lot. You can expect to be tired. You can expect that there's going to be competing priorities. It's going to happen. So how are you going to deal with that and understand that something gets a no? And it may be that project at work because you want to go to your kids' play, right? Like, it's going to happen. And that mommy guilt kicks in. So how do you help your clients sort of navigate those very complex priorities that are pulling, especially when thinking about balance, using all of those lovely disciplines, I would say, right? And frameworks.
I love that question because that is something that we all deal with no matter what our life is throwing at us, is these competing priorities. And
all the time.
Somehow we carry this guilt that it's nonstop.
All the time.
And it's guilt that we're never doing enough. So it doesn't matter which direction we're facing, whatever we're not saying yes to, we feel bad about. And that is so heavy.
And annoying, frustrating. I mean, the amount of clients. So back in the day, we would talk about Calgon, Take Me Away. I'm aging myself, right? But I don't know if anybody remembers that commercial. And the lady feels like everything is overwhelming. And Calgon is like a body wash. And she wanted to like take a bath and just Calgon, take me away. That's what I think about. Like, we are wanting a stop button. We want a release button. We want an exit button. But at the same time, we want it all.
Yeah.
We want all the things, right? And sometimes it's just so exhausting trying to do all the things.
Mhm. It absolutely is. And things pull at us in ways that we don't even realize. And I found myself having this moment a few weeks ago. My husband was in one place, I was in another. We were in different countries at the time. He was having an emotional moment that I didn't see coming. And I remember getting off the phone feeling guilty that I didn't see it coming. Like it's my responsibility to know every single thought that goes through his head, every emotion he has, and be able to, get the parachute ready, do whatever it needs, have the soft landing. That's not my job. That's not my responsibility, but I had this immense guilt. And after all these years of work and everything I teach, so I understand it is normal. The thing that we really work on is the recovery. And the recovery time is everything.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to have those thoughts. We're going to have those feelings. So I like to have my clients understand how they want their life to feel. A lot of what we do when we kick it off is we start with what I call a vision booster. And so we pick 3 words. How do you want your life to feel every day?
Mm-hmm.
And let's start with that so we know that that's just something that we can anchor into, come back to. So for me, for example, I want to feel free. I want that sense of freedom, love, and peace. Those are really important to me. So that's how I want my life to feel every single day. And when you're making choices, are you feeling those things? Are you creating that life? Is the choice that you're making, the feeling you're having, is it what's good for you today? Is it serving who you used to be? And is it serving who you're going to be, who you're working towards?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of different perspectives that we look at so that we know it's okay to have the emotions, maybe recognize them first. Self-awareness is key. I saw a study once that said 95% of people think that they're self-aware, but in reality, only 10 to 15% of people are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we work on that skill, that really exciting, beautiful minority skill to make you a superstar.
Right. Because it's like once you actually really understand what makes you tick, what you like, what you don't like, what you want, why you want it. And I think for a lot of us, we say we want these things, but I don't know if we've ever sat. At least in therapy, what I find is that people get the things that they say they want, and then they're like, I didn't know any of it was going to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I wanted this. I realized I only did these things because this is what I thought people wanted me to do.
Yep.
I don't even know who I am. I don't even know, what I like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing to me that people get to these really big ages, 45, 50, 55, and they are feeling like they don't know who they are, or they're just now discovering who they are. And so like stepping back, right? Like I know we kind of jumped right in, but this episode of Conversations with Coach La is really about where healing meets leadership, right? And confidence is non-negotiable, right? And in honoring Women's History Month is that really trying to take us away from the highlight reels. We're in this age of social media. It's all about content. It's all about, visibility, monetization. I don't care if you're a lawyer, or you're a doctor, like everyone is sort of now being bombarded with how to promote and market themselves, even if they're entrepreneurial, work for themselves, or they're working for another person. Like everything's content driven,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is causing a lot of the mental load of leadership, imposter syndrome, issues with self-worth. And women are just quite frankly burnt out. And some of the burnout looks like not being motivated. It looks like irritability. It looks like frustration, right? And often people get misdiagnosed and don't even know they're depressed because I'm not depressed. How could I be depressed? I'm still getting up, going to work every day. I'm doing all the things. But when I come home, I'm crying for no reason, or I'm short-tempered with my kids. I got, they call it mommy brain fog, right? Like I'm sort of disconnected and disassociating from I feel like I'm on autopilot.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting as I think you mentioned these symptoms that come up and not recognizing what they're experiencing. I also think they're taking words that they hear and minimizing them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just burnt out.
Yep.
And what are you going to do about it?
And I don't think that people feel like there's a way out.
Yeah.
I think when you're a mom and you're a wife and you have a career or you're running a business, there's this pressure that it's all on you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't drop any balls. Perfectionism is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Where folks really just, I have to have it all together all the time.
Yeah.
Or God forbid that I don't, and I let anybody know that there's something I can't do, the imposter syndrome kicks in. And I really hope for us as women that we can be confident even in our messiness, even in not knowing that the confidence can still exist and not be connected to performance, but just connected to, I'm confident in the person I am and what I like, what I don't like, what I'm willing to do, my capacity. I can be confident in that piece of myself and not know how to do this thing or this task.
Yeah. There's so much beauty and excitement in learning.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget that. And honestly, a lot of it has been beaten out of us in, you know, school or work. We're often berated for asking too many questions. And you don't want to ask too many questions. If you ask too many questions, you're going to look like the dumb one in the room. You're going to be the one who doesn't know what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And God forbid that happens.
Right.
Because now all of a sudden people are going to be like, how did she get this job? She doesn't know anything.
Exactly. And you're no longer trusted. Instead of saying, you know what, questions are great. We need to ask them. We need to be better. Not everyone knows everything, but yet we're brought into these roles expected to know it all. And that's just painful. And it doesn't make any sense, right? We're not celebrating diversity of thought. We're not celebrating each person's unique ability and what they bring to a table. I remember working in an environment where I was hired as the first person on a team. So then people came in and I trained each person, each of my peers that came in. And over the months that followed, I learned from each of them. They all had different skills. That was really exciting. And I had those moments. I had imposter syndrome moments. Of course, I'm a human being, thinking, oh God, they're so good at this. And I'm not. I don't know how to do that. That's not who I am. So what? That's not your gift. That's why you get to collaborate with people.
All the time. And I think when we're younger, I think a lot of this starts when you're younger, when you're starting to learn, people making it be okay not to know or to make a mistake. With those early experiences with learning often shape how you show up, the risks you take, the questions you ask. This other phenomenon that I get is that a lot of times people will ask questions that they know the answers to just to have something to say or to play coy, right? And so they'll kind of ask rhetorical type questions because they don't want to necessarily be the smartest person in the room. There was a study that, and I don't know the exact statistic on this, that most women don't take credit for the things that they do. They normally are humble, right? They normally shy away from being the person that is responsible for something. They'll let somebody else take credit. And that is very interesting that we do that. We don't want to be conceited. We don't want to be seen as bossy or like the B word, right? So a lot of women think by playing nice and saying that, you know, they're humble and they, you know, they're team players, that that's a better place to be. But I think that chips away slowly at your confidence because then you don't necessarily get recognized for what you're actually doing.
No. We don't want to be showy, right? We want to show that we're intelligent, but you're not supposed to be the center. You're supposed to keep up, make waves in not a wavy way, but in like stay in line, get ahead, but don't do it too loudly.
Right. And I think in some environments, they actually shun women who do have that confidence and do come in that space.
Absolutely.
And our male allies don't necessarily get chastised in the same way. Um, that's looked at as powerful. That's looked at as, assertive leadership, but women not so much, right? And then we can't also be emotional either. Like if we're going to come in and be a leader, we need to be stoic, right? Not emotional at all.
And it's amazing to me because studies have been done around the power of emotional intelligence. And that's what so many women bring to the table naturally. And it shows that women make better leaders because of it. Yet we are still chastised for it.
Yep. One of our viewers, shout out to Moonlight. Thank you for tuning in. She said, well, how will they know if you don't show them what you got? Exactly. I think that's a really good point. There's also another study that talks about women will negotiate better for other people than for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
We tend to take the first salary that's given and presented at the table. We don't usually negotiate our salaries for more money, where men will. And we'll find out later that a man is getting more money because he usually negotiates, or they will offer him more money right out the gate, which I think is really interesting. You guys can go look this up. It's really a phenomenon how much this is true, that a woman will do a better job negotiating and making sure other people get what they need and will shortchange usually herself, which goes back to that whole self-care.
Yeah.
Women are praised for being selfless, right? For putting other people before themselves, for doing the most, right? And think about our grandmothers, our aunties, they were like doing everything for everybody, and you knew they were tired, but they just kept going, kept doing.
I will tell you.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. No, you will tell me. Go ahead.
I am a bonus mom. And when I moved in with my now husband and my bonus daughter, I found a therapist specifically to help me navigate the situation, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I want it to be smooth. I want to make sure that this kid's okay. But what it came with was these unwritten rules and expectations that I didn't recognize. And I remember she would always say to me, Jackie, why are you falling on the sword? Why do you need to do that? And it is this innate thing. We believe that we have to.
Right.
And so we need to unearth those expectations and see, are they actually serving us? And oftentimes they're just so historic. When you talk about salary negotiations, it makes me think about the idea that you might be able to negotiate your way into a company, but then what?
How do you move around? How do you navigate? And a lot of women that have come to me for therapy feel stuck. They feel unappreciated. They also feel as if they are tasked with doing the most without compensation or recognition for doing the most. So many places are understaffed at the moment, right? Where people are being asked to kind of take on 2 and 3 roles.
Yeah.
And a lot of women especially don't feel comfortable with pushing back and saying no. And I'm often going from being therapist to executive coach and training about managing up and writing out all of the tasks and responsibilities and being able to go to your manager and sort of say, hey, these are all the things I'm assigned to. These are all of the projects that I'm working on. Can we go through these and prioritize? Can I give you updates on where I am with each project, and not assuming that your manager knows all that's going on and all that's involved? Because often people are just delegating and just throwing things at you, right? And taking a different approach of actually going with these projects and asking these things. A lot of women get so much anxiety about the idea of disclosing where they need support or where things are not going right. And so they sort of just live in a bubble and act as if everything's fine until it all blows up.
Yeah. Because will it look like I'm not enough again?
Yes.
I have some, clients in the C-suite, and what I find what's so interesting is they'll take on more. They'll take on more in roles that have nothing to do with what they do. They are, so many positions below where they are because they feel bad asking when they know that their team is overwhelmed. And how unfair is that? That's not what they're there to do. That's not what they're hired for. It's not what they're paid for. And it's honestly, it's limiting their team, but they struggle to let go because there is such a deeply rooted pleasing need in there and that care for other people. Now, that's not showing the best part of a woman leader, but it is showing the care that shows up. And the what she needs is the support and understanding that it makes her better to let go of those things. But first, she needs to actually get out of survival in order to do that.
I'm glad you brought up survival because that's another one of those buzzwords, right? Like we're in survival mode. And I mean, I can definitely connect it to therapy, to trauma, and different things. But I often wonder with all of the pressures of the world, right? How expensive it is, housing costs, all of the things, right? The idea that we're surviving, right? I feel like it often puts this layer that makes people feel as if they're not winning in life. Like, I've just been surviving, and versus I like to really shift that and encourage people to see, no, you've been navigating with the resources that you have and the knowledge that you have. And, yes, you've overcome something. But I think sometimes the idea of surviving sort of puts people in that more of a victim. And I don't know that it always makes us feel as optimistic that we can thrive, or that we have been thriving in a lot of ways. That just the idea of pushing forward when something should have maybe tore you apart is more than just surviving.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, as a trauma survivor myself, I don't even say surviving in that context anymore because I'm more than that. I'm me. I think of it as what happens inside of us in our nervous system. That is really where the survival is happening. It's that feeling, that amygdala reaction of what goes on within us. And you're right, with everything that life throws at us and housing costs and the things that we're taking care of. And honestly, technology, while it is so great in so many amazing ways, it is sped up so much that it puts pressure on us to be in all these different spaces and show up and always be available on 15 different apps. And
right.
It's so much.
But don't you think too, that's part of the human experience though?
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, like if we take it all the way back to like origins of why we even have defense mechanisms of like the fight flight response, like that's just human. Right. And I know we as human beings love to conceptualize things and put labels on things because we need to rationalize, right? We need to have an understanding of why things are happening. But a lot of this is just really human. Like humans are complex, imperfect beings that are going to do things that are going to trigger your nervous system.
Yeah.
Right? Life is going to trigger your nervous system. I'm triggered by dogs, right? Like some people love animals, right? But I don't walk around saying I survived dogs.
No.
But I definitely have had some not the best experience with dogs. They make me uncomfortable, like make me very nervous. My nervous system definitely starts saying, am I safe? Right? Am I going to be okay? So I think that that's what, in therapy is really helping people to understand the language that we use, right? And how we frame things often is the catalyst to change and optimism and resilience. And we have like started using, I'm in survival mode almost for everything. It's one thing like if you happen to have been on a ship and it got wrecked and you almost drowned, right? And you didn't, they came and they got you and you survived. But we apply that to almost every human experience. We got people walking around saying they're in survival mode.
I see that. I understand that. And I think words are incredibly powerful, and being mindful of how we use them helps us to navigate life and appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
More. It's less about using it as a description for an excuse or a concern. It's more of a recognition of the human experience, and not a blaming, but a way to shift, a way to say, this is what's happening within me, and it's okay because it is human.
very much. And recognizing why it might come back.
Mhm.
Right. And I think often when we're saying we're in survival mode, what that tells me is, although that thing happened, like with the peak complex PTSD, although that thing happened a long time ago, your body knows the score, right?
Mhm.
And so what's happening inside is you're almost staying in that space all the time. And it's like, how do you heal from that? How do you evolve from that and not be in survival mode?
But what we don't recognize as often is that we get into these spaces, this type of nervous system reaction happens to us in everyday life. We stop feeling safe at work.
Yes.
And it's based on an email that came in, something someone said in a meeting, something you didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
glances between colleagues.
Just a conversation that is challenging you to think outside the box or is holding you accountable, people will not feel safe, right? And it's like
Exactly.
often saying this is a difficult conversation, but you are safe.
Yes.
You might be experiencing that, feeling that you want to run. I ask you to sit with that and know that you're safe. And this is an okay conversation. It's going to be a challenging one because we got to talk about some tough stuff, but I'm not here to harm you with the conversation or my words. We're just working through some uncomfortable dialogue, right?
Mhm.
But you're safe, right?
Yeah.
And reminding yourself of that, which takes me to my segment about what does therapy mean to you, right?
Oh.
Because I think often people think about therapy in the terms of dysfunction, diagnosis, and some type of deficit, right? And I'm not going to therapy. Nothing's wrong with me. So when you think about therapy, because you said you have a therapist and you've gone to a therapist, like, how do you shape it and what does therapy mean to you?
I believe therapy is the gift you give yourself. It is not something that came to me. It came to me at a point of need. And I noticed it when I was starting to fall into my first depression. So that happened in my 20s. What I will say is I grew up hearing therapy was for rich people. So
I grew up hearing therapy was white folks.
Right.
Black folks don't go to therapy. We go to church and we pray on it. My mother flat out told me there ain't nothing a therapist can tell me that I couldn't tell you about yourself. So if you need somebody to tell you about you, come here. I tell you what's wrong with you. So.
Yeah, we didn't have money, right? Money was not about that. That was a privilege. Therapy was not for us. Rich people problems, right? So you didn't have therapy growing up,
and there's a luxury to that, right? There's
Yeah.
a luxury to being able to go sit for an hour with a therapist and lay on the couch and talk about things. Again, if you're in survival mode, I ain't got time to talk about my feelings. How is this going to help me to sit and be taught? And that's the premise. Like, how's that going to help me?
Mm-hmm.
But what I've learned about all of this, right? Being able to talk through what you're navigating. Because remember, my thing is about navigating. You said something earlier about how do you want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you want life to feel? People are not asking people these questions, right? We're not really talking about that. We spend so much time talking about milestones. I need to hit this by this age. I need to do this by this age. I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want the house. But how's all that stuff going to make you feel?
Yep.
And most people think it's going to make them happy. That's the biggest thing. I just want to be happy, not realizing that's a state of consciousness. It's an emotion. It's a feeling. It's fleeting. Right? There's a concept called the happiness threshold, that everything that you say you want, it only has a limited time frame of how long it makes you happy, right? Before you need something else to make you happy. That's why some people, as soon as they hit a goal, they're like, okay, what next?
Absolutely.
Because you're getting doses of dopamine that feel good. It's a rush, right? And then it goes away. So you really have to find a sense of joy and happiness that is not based on performing or getting another thing, but just simply with yourself. And I think that's hard because most people are defining whether or not they're good enough by what they have and what they achieve.
Absolutely. We get to that point of what's next. And honestly, there's a certain age Where what is next?
Exactly. Once you start getting up here to your 50s, I have to be honest. Like I never thought about death in the end as much as I do now, as I've had friends pass away in their 40s and early 50s. It has really given me a new understanding about life and the continuum of life, and the things that we worry about and we're so fixated and focused on achieving is like we're almost all trying to get somewhere, but where are we going?
Yeah.
Right. And at any moment it could just be done. So are you happy with just you? Right. And I think gratitude is like the cheat code. Are you grateful for what you do have and what you've been able to achieve, instead of always like, okay, well, what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next?
And especially as you're talking about that happiness threshold, how much are you going to love up what's actually next if you're not loving up what's here?
Right. Of even taking a moment to say, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
Your small wins, I've got that. And I say this as we're in Women's History Month, because we have been so phenomenal in moving the pendulum in so many different areas. Like, women are amazing in the things that we've done, but we often are in a place of not feeling like we're enough. We're often in this rat race of chasing happiness or feeling like I am not all the way together until I do this one more thing. So you'll find a woman, she has the career, she has the house, she has all these things. And it's like, well, I haven't had children yet. Am I ever going to have kids? And there's this sadness. And even if she's, say, good, other people will project it on her.
Oh, yeah.
So if she's in a good place, somebody will be like, oh, well, you haven't got married yet? You haven't had any kids yet? Well, when are you going to do that? That's the only thing you need left and your life will be complete. Like, huh? Excuse me? Did I invite you to analyze and examine my life and tell me what else I need to be content with myself? I had a woman tell me, well, we're not meant to be here alone. So any woman who's saying that she's happy with being alone is lying to herself.
Wow. Wow.
That is just her trying to convince herself that she's okay, because deep down she's not. You cannot be happy unless you have a partner.
That's not true at all.
But women are walking around with this. You can't be completely happy unless you have become a mom, right? And so you think about women who are having any challenges with conceiving, the pressure that feels, that I haven't fulfilled my responsibility as a woman if I never do that. And it's this deep, heavy sadness that they often bring to therapy around not feeling like they're a woman, not feeling like they're enough. Especially another big one is like, at this big age that I'm at, I'm not married, right? I've never been married, and the pressure that people will put on you for not having a relationship or being in a relationship. So there's a lot of things I think that women get hit with that I don't think that men do. And men can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like women are more fixated, and that is more on our bingo card and on our vision boards than I see men that are really focused in on that.
Absolutely. Men are the bachelors, right?
And they enjoy it.
Yeah.
They're having fun. They're like, getting married is like, you're taking away my fun. You just took my binky away, Like, you want me to do what? Like, I'm enjoying being out here having a buffet, Women are like, well, when am I going to get chosen?
Right. Instead of, I'm choosing myself. And if you are lucky enough, I will choose you too.
Right. The joys of being a woman. But I do think that each conversations like this help to change the narrative and allow women to find their footing, right? And to be able to find their balance and their zen, and to just be free, right? Because once you can just be like, hey, this is me, I'm enjoying myself. They claim that when you get like that, all of the things come to you. Again, I'm saying it's gratitude. I think once you get to a place of gratitude and radical acceptance, I think you just start naturally attracting things.
Yeah.
Free flowing. You're not repelling it anymore because you're open.
Gratitude is the highest vibrational energy.
Talk about it. Tell me more.
I'm not an expert in this space, but what I do know, what I have read, what I have researched is when you experience gratitude, you can't actually have negativity at the same time within you. Gratitude takes you to a different space. So if you were to say that your baseline is at a 50, gratitude maybe takes you to a 70, right? And the more gratitude you have, maybe your new baseline is a 70. So even if you dip low and you're at a 60, it's okay. You weren't as low as you were before when you dipped down to a 30, because the more gratitude you have, the higher you get. And that positive vibrational pull, it's incredibly magnetic for good things. And it also just supports your overall well-being. This is not about constantly being positive and worrying about toxic positivity and, oh my gosh, I had a bad thought. Of course you're gonna have a bad thought. That's normal. How are you bouncing back? Where can you recenter yourself in these moments? How can you create that calm within you and spend some time with gratitude? I know if I'm working with someone and they are just on the struggle bus, we're going to do some mindfulness work. We're going to calm their nervous system, give them to a space where they can start to look elsewhere. We're going to go through some gratitude. Tell me 3 things you're grateful for.
And I know it sounds so simple and almost cliche, right? And almost like, yeah, right. Jackie and Coach, all right. Yeah, okay. You mean to tell me that's all I got to do if it's that simple? Like I would have been done that. I invite every listener to try this. For the next 24 hours, don't complain. Don't complain, don't vent, don't moan. Literally focus on what you are grateful for. And it can be as simple as your vision, your sight, your mobility, the things you take for granted that if all else failed, maybe it's just your health, right? A lot of times we don't realize your health is something to be grateful for every day, because if you don't have your health, everything else goes to the shitter, right? We don't realize all of the things that really could just shift everything by simply tapping into that. And once you're in that high vibrational energy, you're more creative, right?
Absolutely.
You are calm.
You're more innovative.
You're innovative. You will feel more loving. Things will kind of bounce off of you a little bit. You know, it's so much benefits to doing this shift that I've done it personally.
And I will say, I'll take it even further. There's other things that you can look to. Start with your gratitude, then say, what are 3 things I learned today? Right? What did you learn? What are 3 things I'm proud of? Like number 3, I feel like it's easy. 1, 2, 3. Quick things. What are you proud of? Yes. You can always find something.
But you know what? You'll be surprised. So every time I start a session with a client, I always ask them, so what's better? Right?
I love that.
And I actually borrowed that from my therapist because I thought it was a great opening question, right? And you'd be surprised. They know I'm going to ask it every single week. And they always do the same thing. Well, I knew you were going to ask me that. And I don't know what's better, right? And they want to go right into the problems, right into what didn't work that week. What I have learned is that even on a bad day, there's something that went well. It may have just been that somebody came and brought you lunch. Somebody might have, been nice to you. You just don't look at it because that bad thing or that thing that didn't go well takes over your thoughts and you fixate on it. You ruminate on it. You actually give it more life because it actually is already over. Believe it or not, most of the things, even when it comes to trauma, it comes to a lot of it has everything to do with our thoughts and what you are doing, saying, and what's part of your routine, what is part of your habits. And people say it's so hard. Yep, it's going to stay hard as long as you keep saying it's hard. If we say, you know what, I'm working on this. Each day I get a little bit better doing it, right? I'm going to put forth effort today to do this, right? Try it.
I love that so much. I talk a lot with my clients about their neural pathways.
Ooh.
Right? Yes. Having those negative words, having the rehashing, the venting that goes nowhere, but vent just to vent.
Just a
right?
vent.
When you do that, you're just deepening those neural pathways. So you're making it so it just stays
Yep.
rough and you're staying in it, right? Where instead, if you do things like gratitude, if you're thinking about what's better, if you're looking for what you're proud of, what you're learning, you are building new neural pathways towards calm, wisdom, innovation, better productivity. People don't realize if you actually put this effort in, you'll be more productive.
And whatever you thought you're thinking about and whatever is consistently in your mind, it's from learned behavior.
Yeah.
You've been doing it so long, saying it so often that you don't even realize that you made it like a running tape. It's now what they call an automatic intrusive thought. You don't even have to do anything anymore for it to come. It just comes instantly, automatically. But do you realize if you look at children, I always take people back. If you think about little kids, when they come into the world, they don't have these thoughts. It doesn't immediately come to a kid to be scared. Doesn't immediately come to a kid that they can't do something. It doesn't. They actually use no to tell us what they're going to still do, right? When they're telling you no, it's because they're taking authority of their space and they're saying, no, I want to go here and I want to do that. No, no, no. It's natural that we're not automatically coming out into the world like, I can't. When little kids start walking, none of us say, you know what? Give it up. Don't try anymore.
Yeah.
You're wobbling. You don't really quite got it yet. You crawled, you got back on the floor. You know what? Just hang it up. You're never going to walk.
I love the walking example. That to me always brings that great baseline of just because you fall down, you're still going to get back up.
And sometimes you're going to wobble.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not going to be that you just walk in a straight line and you get up and you run.
But it's part of the process.
It's part of the process. And we all understand that.
As we talk about therapy being the gift, right? One of the things, I went to therapy for 15 consecutive years. I had 5 different therapists over the years. They all gave me something different for where I was in my journey. And what I learned, one of the best things that I now know is trust the process. And so that carries on to all different areas of life. Even going through programs with other coaches, whatever the discipline is, I watch people in the groups being, hesitant, frustrated. And I just know, trust the process.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right.
Well, that takes us to one of my favorite moments. And we're getting a lot of good comments. So once again, you guys are tuned into Conversations with Coach La. This conversation is so juicy. I didn't got all the way entrenched, right? Jackie, has been awesome, but we are on the virtual couch and we're talking about leadership. We're talking about women being able to not just be performative to feel successful, and this idea about us being enough. And so, yeah, it takes me to your bet on self moment. It's one of my favorite segments of the show when we start talking about, what it means exactly to bet on self and what that looks like for you going forward, and how do you help your clients to really get to this space of, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? And really embrace them moving life forward and not being stuck on what people told you were told you could be, but you being the actual author of your story. So talk to me about your bet on self moments, past, present, future.
I love that so much. I know starting my business was a bet on self moment. I always said I didn't take a leap of faith. I took a leap of trust, and it was the trust in myself. So that initially, I left an environment that wasn't healthy, that I was treated differently for being a woman of color, and I was done. And so I decided I was building my own table. I bet on myself when I got on stage for the first time and did not expect that. I thought 5 years down the line, I'm going to do this. And then within a year of my business, an opportunity came up and I told the story. And honestly, I told a story of abuse that I went through, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to trigger anyone, but it was raw and deep and important. And it showed other people that they were not alone and they felt seen, heard, understood. When we had a life quake within my family, my husband, bonus daughter, and I realized that all of us were running on expectations of other people of what our family was supposed to be like and look like. And I said, no, we're going to tear it down to the studs and let's do it our way. Forget everybody else. And it took us, unfortunately, or whatever it was, it took us about 10 years into it to figure that out. And that's okay. And then right now, what I'm really excited about is I'm betting on myself writing a book. And it's called Palatable, Profitable, Dying Inside. And it's why success shouldn't make you disappear and the fulfillment formula that brings you back. And this is the telling of all that we've talked about of what we go through in the workplace and how to create change, not just on an individual level, but on an organizational level as well. How we build a palatability culture. And when it comes to my clients, it is really getting rid of, I'm going to rephrase that, words are important, quieting the noise that's going
a big
on.
One.
Yeah. So that they can see themselves and say, I am worthy of so much more. I am worthy of saying no. I am worthy of saying yes for things for me. I'm a part of this story. I'm not just a supporting character, because that's so much of what happens when we're giving of ourselves to everyone else is we stop giving to us and filling our own cup.
And I think, that's so important is when we talk about balance, when you say yes to everyone, what's getting a no, right? What's getting a no, and being able to negotiate to understand that something's going to get a no, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay. It may be, I'm not going to that additional event today because I need to listen to my body. I need to rest. So what's getting a yes is rest.
Yes.
I'm not going to take on another project at work, right? I'm doing a great job, but there are some of my clients that feel like if they don't take on that next project, they're not going to be seen, or they're not going to look like a team player, or it's going to be some level of backlash to showcase that they also want to do things with their child.
I'm not staying out late for drinks because I did a damn good job all day. And that extra cocktail at night is not going to prove my worth anymore.
Oh, that's a good one. I had to teach some clients that too, of being able to say no. And they're like, well, it's so disrespectful not to take that drink. Right. And so the things that we sort of are walking with in terms of our thought process, where did it come from? And where did you learn that? And why did you decide that you had to buy into it and it had to be your truth?
So I referenced this a little bit earlier, but in my mid-20s, I fell into my first depression. And I spent 20 years in sales and marketing and travel and hospitality industry. I lived hustle. That just was. And I performed. I was funny, kind, silly, outgoing, dancing out late all night with everyone, doing all the things. And I never made time, and I didn't make time intentionally. I mean, my schedule was packed. And I intentionally didn't slow down. And I realized I wasn't slowing down because I didn't want to feel. And so eventually my body and my mind was like, no, you got to stop. And depression took me down. And I am grateful for it because I learned so much. It was depression, anxiety, panic, severe panic attacks, CPTSD, all of it combined. It was a hell of a cocktail. And coming out of that, I learned quality. I learned to listen to myself more, figure out who I am, what I want, who I want around me, and the importance of slowing down and having more meaning. So that was the first initial step to say, I'm going to show up differently and be different because of this. And I watch it happen with so many women today and some men as well. There's a lot of pressure. I've had a lot of interviews with incredibly successful Black men. And one thing that they say to me is, if I stop running, everything will fall apart. I can't stop.
Well, I've had a lot of conversations around men, and where there's commonality is that men are also conditioned to be providers and to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Women are also conditioned to be selfless and to overextend to feel as if they're worthy of being chosen. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of similarities in how we show up, and it all comes back to, I would say, being accepted, being loved, being valued.
Mm-hmm.
It's all connected, right, into this human experience of what causes you to get hurt, right, is not being loved, not being respected, being disappointed, people not showing up for you, somebody doing something egregious to you. Like we are so connected, and that a lot of our experiences are exactly the same if we just would see the humanness in each of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of, most people want success, most people want love, most people want to achieve their goals. Like, people are not just showing up and saying, I don't want to do anything. I just want my life to suck. I want to be out here and, I want to be mistreated. I want to be disappointed, and I don't want to achieve anything. I want nothing. Like, I just don't want to be anything. Like, I don't think that that's just the natural situation. I think most little kids, they're fearless and they are excited about life and they're joyous, and then something comes along
and takes it
away, or tells you to stop thinking that way, or you can't be that, or what makes you can you be that, you have a hard time doing this and you're not good at that, and you start comparing yourself to other people, and you start to see you're different, and we can go on and on and on. But we're almost done with the show. Can you believe it?
No, I've
loved this. The last segment. It is Coach's Corner. I had watched this clip where men had talked about therapy being like boxing, and it got me thinking about Coach's Corner, or the coach being in the corner. So you go to the corner after you go out there, and you know what I'm saying, you get your right hook, and you get your body shots in, and life is throwing it back at you, and you're just fighting away, right? trying to make sure you don't get knocked out. So you come to the corner. So you're in Coach's Corner. What do we want people to take away, especially women? Because tonight's show is really a focus on them.
Yeah.
What do we want them to take away? How do we want to leave them when they go back and they replay this tomorrow, or they listen to this episode next week? What advice, what nuggets? Because they're coming over to the corner now. They've been getting beat up. They out there fighting away.
Yeah.
What's some advice we want to give them?
I want them to know that they deserve more, that they're worthy of more. And this doesn't have to mean that what you have isn't enough. No, love up what you have. It's so good. It's so beautiful. And what if you could dream bigger? I love the word dream, and I know people have a hard time with it because it's childish or can seem childish, but I think that's a beautiful thing. We were told to stop dreaming a long time ago. Think about what dreams bring for you, what possibility could be next. Realize that your story has possibility all over it. It's just waiting for you to see it and expand and be ready to take it.
I like that. I would add this: somewhere along the way, women were taught to choose soft or strong, mother or leader, feminine or successful. But femininity is not a liability, ladies, right? This isn't something that we have to negotiate or give away, right? Motherhood isn't a weakness. I remember my father told me, he said, any place that you go that you can't go and also have the label of mother, or you got to hide that aspect of you, is not a place that for you. That's not your people. That's not the place that you should be. And I thought about that. But most places, if they understand that, will embrace you being a mom, will embrace you having to show up at your children's play or go to your child's school if they're sick. You won't get shamed for that. You won't get penalized for doing those things. They will be having you find solutions on how you can navigate it, but you won't be penalized for it. So it's not a weakness. And last but not least, rest is not a resignation. There's a lot of women who feel like resting is not an option, or if you do, somehow that's a weakness. It's sometime or somehow you're not doing enough, or you should be doing something else, because resting is for the lazy, right? You'll rest when you die. And I honestly think rest is a gift. You need that to refuel. It's something that is so important to your mental health and to your physical health. It's a necessity. It's like not drinking water, right? Like, we have to reframe our way of looking at resting and taking care of ourselves as something that you have to do to be able to do all the other things.
We could spend a whole hour on rest.
I just think about, as a woman, I have embraced all these things, and it really has changed how I feel on the inside. I think gratitude and joy are the cheat codes, right? Happiness is a fleeting emotion. You will not be happy all day long. You will have sadness. You will have frustration. All of the plethora of different emotions is part of the human experience. But if you have joy and you understand gratitude, that's your baseline, right? That's your set point. That's what you always go back to, while all these other emotions are doing what they do, which is fluctuate.
Mm-hmm. And you have choice.
You do. You get to choose how you want to interpret the emotion. Right? You can't do anything about having emotions.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they're like having to go to the bathroom, right? They're going to come up and they signal you that you need something. So that is a human experience. Emotions go with that. So when people say they don't have any emotions, unless they are on the spectrum, because there are some people who have emotional disorders where they don't feel the same way. But I'm talking about normal human experience emotions. You will get a signal, and it's similar to having to go to the restroom. Like, it just signals you that something needs to be released. You need to address something. You get to determine how you feel about that. Like, sometimes when you have to go urinate, it's not at the best time, right? You're frustrated, you're annoyed about it. Then other times you're like, it's no big deal. It does, you don't even think twice, you go and it's done. So there's these moments, like on the airplane, I'm like, why now? I don't want to get up and go right now. Can I hold it? I can probably hold it, right? So that's what we do with emotions. Sometimes we try to hold it and not address it, and we hold it and not address it. And eventually, just like having to go to the bathroom,
think of the destruction if you just never address it.
It is going to come out. And you're not going to be able to control it then. It's just going to be like splashing everywhere. But y'all get the idea, right? And I think when you have visuals, you kind of see, you have to address it. You have to decide how you want to feel about it and how you're going to address it. You can't just repress them and ignore it, because it's going to keep nudging you, poking you, until you go to the bathroom or do something. I've enjoyed this conversation with you. Yeah.
Oh, it's such a gift. I'm so excited to be able to discuss this and bring opportunities for women who need to hear that they are not alone in this, and that it is okay, and there's possibility for change. It's just them taking the time and realizing they're worth the time.
Absolutely. That is the whole idea of Bet on Self, is that you're making an investment into yourself. You are making a wager on the things, all the things, right? And you're saying, you know what, I matter, I'm enough. And the things that I want to have, I can have them, and I'm going to do the necessary steps to make that happen. And I think last but not least, all of us have strengths. If you haven't done a strength inventory in a while, really sit down and write all of the things that you do well, what other people tell you you do well, what you love and what you like about yourself, what other people love and like about yourself. Sometimes you need reminders, and that journaling activity I have my clients do is so profound and insightful. And they go, I don't really think about myself in this way. This was really hard. But once they write it out, they realize that they're not often being their own best friend. And I think as women, we could do a lot better with being our own best friend, talking to ourselves kinder, being more patient with ourselves, being more understanding with ourselves. And I think those are the things that I hope people take away from this show, is to just pause and really check in with you, right? You don't need another credential, ladies. You don't need to go get something else. You need self-trust. You need to be able to really tap in and know who you are. Um, and if you need help, you can come to Miss Jackie Roby. She is taking clients, I'm sure. Right?
Absolutely.
You also tell them a little bit about the group that you have that they can tap into
Yeah. So
for
I
support.
run a virtual networking group called the She Suite Connector. And I keep it private or invitation only. But if you're a listener of Coach Law, then you already have a recommendation to come on in. It happens
Check out that. You get perks.
Once a month. And we meet so that we've got a space for badass women of color and allies to have a mindful message, learn and look in, have reflection questions, and meet and have meaningful conversations. I call it the anti-networking because you build relationships that are real first, and you do business and make referrals to people you know, like, and trust.
Yes. There's a lady on Instagram, one of her slogans is refer her. So this month, we've asked you to do a couple of things. We asked you to write down 3 things you're proud of. We've asked you for the next 24 hours not to complain and to actually tap into what you're grateful for. You can tap in with Robbie, and I'm with Jackie, and join her group. I believe the link, we could throw the link in the replay, but do you want to tell them how they join? Is it just follow you on your page on Instagram? What's the best way to join?
I'll tell you what, on Instagram within my bio, I do have a link if you're interested in the She Suite Connector to sign up there. Okay.
So on her Instagram, which I also have strolling on the screen, you can do it there. Okay. All right. And if you have questions, just, comment or inbox either one of us, because we will be reposting this and she'll be a collaborator. So she'll be easy to find. You can also just Google her. She's easy to find.
That's true.
Tell them what your Instagram is.
Sure. My Instagram is @InspiredJourneyConsulting.
Awesome. Any last thoughts as we wrap up for tonight? Any shout outs?
Yeah. I want to shout out my number one fan and supporter, my handsome husband, David, who is my love of my life and my light. My sisters, who are both business owners, just my people all together who are there and actually support me. Not everybody does, and I'm mindful of that. I'm watching. But really what I want to say,
everything.
This month and always is a really great reminder to choose women's voices. And I say that really intentionally. So look at not just women, but women of color, women in the LGBTQ community, women who are neurodiverse. Hear from diverse voices. Really pay attention, because so much of the information that we get comes from white men. And we can change the game, and we need to learn differently.
I think that's a whole bar. And confidence doesn't come from just being fearless. It comes from showing up while afraid. And I think you got to just do it afraid anyway. It's okay. You will survive it, right? We get so caught up in the fact that this feels difficult and it feels hard, so we just don't do things. But I think that's learned behavior as we get older. We just sort of don't like the feeling of it. We don't like the feeling of things not working out, so we don't do the thing, right? And it's okay, guys. It's okay for things not to work out. And you had a lot of things not work out, and then you had a lot of things work out. It's just the nature of the human experience, and you will be fine. So keep on showing up for you. Keep on betting on yourself. I will see you guys back here next week for another virtual couch right here on the Urban Heat. Remember that Boston has Black radio. Follow us on iHeartRadio, and also tune in tomorrow for the Morning Cafe. It's always fun, and it's always lots of shenanigans. Good night, everyone. I hope you have an enjoyable week, and I'll see you next Sunday for another episode of Conversations with Coach Law right here on the Urban Heat. Good night.